Davinci Resolve 17 has been out for over a year now, guys. Like, that's been a while, right? It kind of like launched like mid-COVID, so it's been out for a bit. Now, we've obviously had iterations and updates and all of these other things with it. However, we haven't had like massive updates. Now, on Blackmagic Design's website right here, they actually have an event, and it starts actually in 14 minutes. And that is what we're going to actually be watching. And we're going to be breaking it down so that you know what is going on. So, and you also know how this is going to actually affect you. But first, guys, if you haven't yet, please like this video so more people can actually see what's up. We've got some cool things scheduled. And I actually think that Davinci Resolve 18 is going to drop. And I have some proof for that. And we're going to actually go over it a few minutes before this actually goes, their event starts, because I think that this is going to be really cool. So in the comments, though, let me know, where are you guys watching from? This is obviously like this is honestly the first time I have ever went live on this channel. So this right here is just breaking some barriers. I know it's different. It's cool. Let's try a new thing. But where are you watching from? Let me know in the comments, because, I mean, why not? I'm here in New York, right? Not the city, because it's super expensive. I don't want to do that. But we got India, we got the UK, got right here. New York City, my guy, nice. Got Wales, Houston, Texas, Germany, Thailand, Finland, so Czech Republic, dang. All right, so we got everybody in here. I'm psyched for this, guys. So let me show you exactly why I think this is going to be Davinci Resolve 19. Now, actually Jake Whip, right? He told me this, but now I'm going to show everybody, okay? So the reason why I think it's going to be Davinci Resolve 18 is because when you open up the source view of the page right here, you see it says, there's their like CDN or something like that, but you got Resolve 18 countdown, right? Resolve 18 countdown, that's the video, right? So this video is named Resolve 18 countdown. Now that right there is something that people want to do, like developers and websites, they want to do that because it makes their websites like more searchable. So the fact that they have something that says Resolve 18 is a very good thing. Plus, it's already been like, I don't know, a year and a half that Davinci Resolve 17 has launched. And if they're talking about doing something like the cloud update, which is a really big thing, right? And I think it's a really smart move. But if they're saying that they're going to be doing a cloud update, then a Davinci Resolve 17.5 would be the wrong place to actually do that. It wouldn't make sense. Like, why? That's such a huge feature, right? Like, let's just say a cloud update. So what I'm thinking is it's going to be Davinci Resolve 18. Now, I know for a fact I titled this video, right, Davinci Resolve 17 or 18 revealed or something like that. Obviously, that's kind of on a hunch. So if I'm wrong, I'm going to change it, okay? You have my word. I'm going to change it. If I'm wrong, it's totally fine, right? I have different versions of everything. So, but I think I'm right. And I think other people are also on the same thing. So, few questions with that, right? So I actually have a few comments from you guys. Let me just throw this right here, right? So this is actually an interesting statement, right? It says, hopefully there's no subscription model with this. Now, I understand, and I think everybody here kind of agrees that like, we hope there is no kind of like subscription with this. The thing with like, and could be a hot take right here, right? Just throwing this out here. If the software or if the company actually is worth a subscription, right? I'm not saying Premiere Pro, right? Premiere Pro, those guys like bend you over a barrel and make you give all of your money to them for programs that you're never going to use. I'm saying if a software is worth, like, let's just say $15, right, a month, and you use it every single week, but there is a free version, right? but let's just say it is. I personally would like to support a developer because I know some of you guys don't like subscriptions, right? It's a thing. But for somebody who is, for a company that has a one-time purchase and has to continue to upkeep, I mean, that's a lot of work. So in the right context, I think subscriptions do make sense. And I don't know any of this information. I'm just from a pure developer standpoint, right? Because if you don't have money coming in, you can't make it better, right? So I'm not saying a ridiculous subscription. I'm not saying $75 a month, right? That's like way out there. No, nobody pays that. If they say you have to pay $75 a month, you're going to watch this channel literally jump to something else. Okay. Like I'm just saying, I'm dipping if that happens, but I don't think they will. And if they require, obviously, like if they're like, hey, you got a studio version, then like your next level, that's a little higher. Okay. Right. I'm not paying. I don't want to pay anymore. I have studio, right? I have the one-time lifetime offer, but yeah, you don't, and right here, right? He says, I don't expect anyone to work for free. And that's essentially what would be happening over time, right? So anyway, yeah, there is already a paid version for the pros. And yeah, you're 100% right. There is a paid version for the pros. And I think Davinci Resolve is a great example of something they call in like business, like a loss leader, right? So like they probably don't make much money off of Davinci Resolve, but what it does is it gets us, people like us, right, in their ecosystem of cameras. It gets them in there of like, switchers and all these different things. So, everything kind of just seamlessly works together. But I doubt that they actually make a lot of money off of Davinci Resolve because, I mean, dude, the amount of time and effort they must put into that program, that's a lot, right? And it works. It works well. Like this software does work well. So we have about 7 minutes until we actually are going to be watching this event. If you guys don't know, we do have an ongoing or a brand new title pack, right? I'm just gonna do a quick thing here because we have a limited time offer, an intro price for the modern titles on our website, BR Media Pro. You get 15 awesome titles. There is going to be additions onto that in the future. I'm 100% positive of that. We're going to continue to build on this so you get more and more and more. So check these titles out. They're super fast. They're optimized for Davinci Resolve 17. And if Davinci Resolve 18 does come out, we will be optimized for that as well. So this is also one of the ways that you guys can support what we are doing or what I'm doing here on this channel because, I don't know. I just like what I do and I want to continue to do this. So that's just one way that you guys can continue to support our journey and this whole thing with Davinci Resolve and making better edits and all of that fun stuff. So, hey, there it is. Cool. Modern title pack is amazing. Thank you, Jake. You are the man. I really appreciate you. So, question. What features do you want Davinci Resolve 18 to actually have? Let me know. Like, put it in the comments right now. What features are your like must-have for Davinci Resolve 18? I have a few, and I'm going to tell you in a moment, but I want to see what you guys say. Okay? So we got this. All right, more studio talk, but stability. Oof. That one's been recently, they've been getting better. Okay. People say more stability, easier tracking. I don't see tracking being like the hardest thing out there, but once again, it is what it is, right? Some computers actually take a lot of effort to make it happen. Auto subtitles. Yes, I want auto subtitles. Premiere Pro has it. Why do we not have this? I want it. Fusion Magic Mask. This was on my list. So I actually don't think, and I'm just going to tell it right here, I don't think like Magic Mask in its classic sense is like the best out there, right? I don't think it's like that great. I don't know where I'm playing. Magic Mask. Oh, sorry. Got some audio feedback. But yeah, I don't think Magic Mask is like the greatest thing. Honestly, like I think that they could take like a next step to that and make it more of like, I mean, honestly, there is what was it? I wrote it down. Hold on. Roto Brush, right? There's Roto Brush from After Effects. They have Roto Brush 2 now. So that right there is like, I need that, right? I don't want to have to go take my footage out of Davinci Resolve, bring it to a program like Runway ML, do all of my masking in there, because quite honestly, you're not going to find me doing masking, like unless it's very simple. I don't want to mask people. My time is like, I just value my time, and I would rather work efficiently than, you know, just sitting there and frame by frame masking something out for like 7 days. So that is there. You got automated, like, so obviously the automated masking tool like Roto Brush. I want fusion stability, right? Improved fusion stability. I don't want stupid crashes. Now I know it's hard with software because you're dealing with things like people slow computers, right? Hardware, you know, doesn't work well with stuff. It's just the reality of software. So this is a really big one, right? And I want the ability to change the audio size on the cut page, okay? The cut page. So let me show you right here what I'm talking about. So I'm going to pull this up, go into Resolve, the cut page, okay? If I have audio on this, which I don't, but there wouldn't be a place that I could sit here and make my audio bigger. I can't, right? I want to be able to see my audio as big as I freaking want under this, because I love this like timeline in the center thing. This is beautiful. I want this. What is happening? Are they playing? They are playing something. So, sorry, they were playing. Anyway, they're super cheesy music. Anyway, what I'm thinking though is that I want this freaking audio to be able to resize right here, because I would use the cut page in a heartbeat, right? I have the speed editor. Now I really don't use it because I would rather use something like my Razer blade, my Razer Taurus, whatever. I should actually make a video on that. That would be really amazing, because I have some nasty shortcuts for that, guys. But yeah, so that's what I'm thinking is we need that. I need that to happen. Also, I would love to say like Davinci Resolve needs like an encoder, like a media encoder, right? Like for those of you who are familiar with Premiere Pro, they have like a media encoder where you can just send your renders to this standalone program, media encoder, and it does all of the renders for you while you can just keep editing on the program. So essentially, you don't have to stop editing. You just send it to another program. It does all the rendering, and then you keep going, right? Because when I have to render like bulk stuff, right? Like if I have to put out like, or if I have to render like, I don't know, like 20 videos, which I've done before, then I'm blocked out of my computer, or I'm blocked out of Davinci Resolve for the next, I don't know, like hour or two. I want to be able to just keep moving along, keep going. So yeah. And he says, or Tom Tormey says, if they go to a subscription, I'll ask for my money back. Well, I mean, if you already bought the studio version, obviously that wouldn't really work, but I get what you mean. So yeah, now we have some awesome stuff coming up for that. The other thing I would love to see, all right, and I don't think many of you are aware of this as we're about to start, you know, into this, but I don't think you guys are aware of this. Davinci Resolve has not updated their developer documentation. Now, why is this important? Because people like me, people like other developers cannot utilize the technology that Davinci Resolve has without them updating their documentation. It's literally like the manual to say, hey, here's how you do the stuff, right? They haven't updated it since Davinci Resolve 12. Okay, we're going on 18 possibly. Guys, that's been a while. Davinci Resolve 12. So I'm about to punch over into this live stream right here. Once they're ready, there we are.
And collaborative workflows. I think we've developed a really great cloud workflow, and it's really exciting. But before I start, I wanted to talk quickly about Hyperdeck. So we're going to be announcing a new model today. It's called Hyperdeck Shuttle HD. So let me show you and we'll check it out. As you can see, it's very different. The biggest difference is really the front panel. It's designed for desktop use. It's the same profile actually as AT Mini Extreme, but it's a full Hyperdeck. Now the design is really dominated by this large search tile on the front there. Yeah, your hand really naturally rests on it, so it's really nice to use. So I'll show you if I turn it sideways, you can see it really rests there really nicely. And then you have these really big transport control buttons at the top there, the same as traditional broadcast decks. I'll show you the rear connections. So around the back there, you can see there's the connections. So there's HDMI in and out, and you can record and play via HDMI. Now it's actually a HD model, so it handles NTSC, PAL, 720p, 1080i, and 1080p formats. The HDMI makes it perfect for AT Mini because it plugs straight in. Now there's a USB-C connection on the back for recording and playing to external discs. Plus it has an SD card slot at the top there, and it handles both SD cards and UHS 2 cards. There's also a 1G Ethernet port, so that means any ATEM switcher can control the deck using Ethernet, even AT Minis. So you can trigger playback like in macros. Plus there's a standard 12-volt DC power connection, and it includes a power supply. So let's plug it in. There we are there. So I have a HDMI monitor here, so we can see the playback. So what I'll do is I'll plug in the power first. And I'll plug in the HDMI.
So I don't know why my Windows
it is now insert an SD card.
But can you guys hear me over this at all? Over him or no?
There it is there. So after it's checked the card out to play, I just press play. See, there it is. So you can see it's playing back the clips on the monitor. To loop playback, you just press play a second time, and it'll loop all clips. It'll loop one clip if you have the clip button down. So let's try out the search dial. So to do that, you press the jog and scroll buttons to use it. So I can use, there's a jog button there, and I can do jog. You can see that I'm jogging around. It also has scroll, which is there. So it's like a faster jog. So you can see it's nice. Now to shuttle, it also has shuttle. So to shuttle, you push both the jog and scroll buttons at the same time, like that. Now you can see I can shuttle up and down the media. So it's like, a traditional broadcast deck shuttle. Now I'm going backwards. Now you might have noticed the clip button. I mentioned it a second ago. It's used to stop playback after the current clip. Whoops. Now that's really important when you're playing clips into a switcher. Like you could have a card with a lot of TV commercials or music videos and stuff like that, and you don't really want it playing into the next clip accidentally. So we put a clip button on, and that'll stop the playback at the end of that clip. Now you can see there's also a record button, so you just push that when you want to record. This Hyperdeck is a fantastic master recorder for AT Mini as well. Now you might have noticed that there's actually no LCD on it, so like how do you change the menus? So that's easy because the menus are actually overlaid on the video output. It's why the menu buttons are recessed, you can see them there. Because you don't want to accidentally push one of those buttons when you're in the middle of playing back. So let me show you the menus work by pressing the menu button here. And set them up. Now use the search dial to go through the menu.
So right here, I think I muted you guys or muted him, but I think right now, he's just going a lot over like their newest Stream Deck kind of thing. Now, as I said earlier, guys, with this, with Davinci Resolve being kind of like a loss leader, this is where they make their profit, right? This is where they do stuff, right? So their panels, their other things like this. So it would make sense that that's why they would start out with this little Stream Deck kind of thing. Now, it is what it is, right? Like, I'm not going to buy it, right? I don't intend on doing that. If they send it to me, I'll check it out because I think that would be really interesting. But, I don't really think that this is going to be anything I actually want to play with much. So, yeah, right now we're just going to keep watching, keep moving forward with this and watching him as he goes. And so I think, so right here, I'm going to, because he's really not saying anything super, super relevant. with this, right? So do I think that it's going to arrive on the M1 iPad? Probably not, unless, I mean, it's not necessarily a DaVinci Resolve issue at that point. It's like an OS issue, right? So that's the main issue right there. So they just like they're not going to probably support an app or an iPhone. So I'm going to punch back into him so we can see what's up.
So we'll eject that. Take the script file out. I'll insert it into the hyperdeck. Now the hyperdeck will show the text file on screen. It's reading the text file just like a video codec. And I can even play it. So I'll play it. See, there it is.
Yeah, sorry guys. I'm just gonna keep this playing in the background. We're gonna keep going over some questions and stuff like that until they get to the DaVinci Resolve part, okay? Because I don't know about you guys. Are you guys super interested in this part? Yes? No? Maybe? This is for a teleprompter, okay? So I'm going to just keep going, keep talking about some stuff. So with DaVinci Resolve 18, right? Now we got your must-have, your this needs to happen kind of stuff, okay? So do you actually think though that like DaVinci Resolve 18 will be announced today, right? Don't take the first 10 minutes of this as 10, 15 minutes. Don't take this as evidence as to them actually being able to, you know, release DaVinci Resolve 18, right? They're obviously just coming out with a new product. They want to showcase that first. They know why we're here, right? They know why we're here. We're here for DaVinci Resolve. They're going to start off with something else. Cool. So, yeah, exactly. We're going to wait for DaVinci Resolve 18. Now, once again, I just want to say this for those of you who are still coming on, who are still brand new here, who didn't see what I was saying. It's not 100% confirmed. DaVinci Resolve 18 is not 100% confirmed. The only reason I am pretty much under the impression that it is going to happen is because on their on their website, you look at, if we just go Control F, look on Finder, and we type in 18, and we just hold on. I have to open everything. So we're going to type 18, and we're going to just look for stuff, anything involving DaVinci Resolve 18. And you can see right here, we have this DaVinci Resolve 18 countdown timer, right? So the countdown timer itself is DaVinci Resolve 18. So, plus, I mean, it's been over a year that they have since they've released DaVinci Resolve 17. They actually released DaVinci Resolve 17 November 9th of 2020, guys. We're in 2022 now. We need an update. So we're going to punch back in, see what he's saying. All right.
And it wasn't really like this in the past. And I think really to understand this change, you have to understand how tech companies are funded now. All venture capitalists really seem to care about now is subscriber counts. So if you want to invest if you want investor money for a tech startup, then you have to comply with their business model. And what this really means is that they're really focused on a thing called customer lifetime value. And what they're investing in is companies that can lock in a customer. So a company's value is really calculated by estimating the profit expected from the customers over time. That's why so many technology companies have sky-high valuations. Even if the tech company doesn't make a profit, it's because the investors believe they're locking in customers for life. But the problem is customers hate it. You simply won't have a customer for life if the customers don't like how you treat them. But investors in technology companies don't really seem to notice that. I've noticed a lot of people seem to be investing in stuff they've got, technology they've got very little understanding of. So I think with DaVinci, we have a better business model here. It's actually free. So it's easy to download and it's easy to learn how to use. Then over time, if you do well and start to make some money, perhaps you buy something from us. You might upgrade to a color panel or an audio console. For us to make money, we actually have to help you make money. We only do well if you do well. And plus our engineers are really motivated to stay focused on what you need. So this means we can't design a cloud workflow that locks up your work. It would be against our culture. So, and there is another cultural rule. It's also very important to us. It's about tracking users and selling your data. As a secondary business, a lot of technology is now used to track customers. So the software you use actually creates profiles of your behavior. And that information can be sold. So much of the tech industry nowadays is all about big data, and it's tracking your every move. Tracking every move you do has become extremely valuable. So Blackmagic Design will never do this. This means we can't design a cloud workflow that tracks and collects information on you. What you do should be private. This is extremely important to us. So just because so many tech companies do it doesn't make it right. So when designing a cloud workflow, we have to work with these cultural constraints because they're really important to us. It's a culture thing. So now let's talk about the technical issues. Now there are a few ways we could have done this, but we think the best solution here is to use a technology that's already been proven to work, and that's email. Email uses a central data server, but you use a local app. It could be an app running on your phone. It could be like a mail app running on a computer. Now you can use web email, of course, but nobody really does that because it's slow and cumbersome and really clunky. That's why most people actually use the internet via various apps these days. You get a local app that has a user interface and it instantly responds to you. But in the case of email, your devices collaborate using data on a central server. That means your phone, your tablet, your laptop, your desktop computer, they all stay in sync. And now we've done the same thing. We've used the same method for Davinci Resolve, and it works incredibly well. Plus, nothing really beats downloading software for free and running it on the computer you already own. That's why we went with the technology solution used with email. Email solved this problem decades ago, and it works really well. But in our case, we're not really syncing between devices. We're syncing between people. People with different talents and experiences, editors, colorists, visual effects artists, audio engineers, all working together, all on the same project, all at the same time. Even multiple people working on the same timeline. So it's really cool. And that's how we've designed the Davinci Resolve cloud workflow. You download and use Davinci Resolve on your computer. The project data can be stored on a centralized server. Everyone can share and work on it from any location on the planet, and it's a true global workflow. One main thing that makes this work so well is the new Apple M1 chips. They're so fast. We've been completely rewriting the processing pipeline of Davinci Resolve to take advantage of it. You might have noticed we've had a bunch of Davinci Resolve releases over the last year as we've completed this work. Each update has dramatically increased the speed of Davinci Resolve. So now anyone can do heavy image processing just using off-the-shelf computers. Now there's really two parts to this workflow. We'll be introducing a new Blackmagic Cloud web service, and we'll also be introducing Davinci Resolve 18. Now Davinci Resolve 18 supports the Blackmagic Cloud. So let me show you how it works. Now the first step is to go to the Blackmagic Cloud website. It's really easy, and you just click the Blackmagic Cloud icon on our web page. So this is the Blackmagic Cloud homepage. It's where you log in all Blackmagic.
He said Davinci Resolve 18. It's freaking real. Not clickbait.
Put my password. So you can see I have some services here, but the project server is the one where we want to create the Davinci Resolve project library. The Davinci Resolve library is where you put your Davinci projects. So let's select a new library. First, you need to name the library. So we'll call ours Winter Wonderland. And you also need to select a server. Normally you select a server located close to where you are. Let it set itself up. So we'll let it set itself up now. It's basically initializing the library on the servers. And there it is. So now we have a cloud library set up and ready to use. So let's go back to Davinci Resolve 18 and then use this new library. Davinci Resolve 18 is, supports Blackmagic Cloud, and I have it here. There it is. Now it's really very simple to set up. All I need to do is click on the Cloud tab. So I'll go to the project window. You can see here. This is where my cloud projects are stored. Now I need to log into Blackmagic Cloud to see my project, so let's do that. I just enter my Blackmagic Cloud ID and also my password. Oops.
Guys, this is friggin' awesome. This is going to be so cool. Like, this is going to bridge a gap that has been there
You can see the library
always.
There it is.
Right? Trying to edit across multiple devices from multiple locations.
So I'll select the... And let's export this project. Here it is here. Now, well, I'll export it. There it is there. Put it on the desktop. There it is. Now we have a Davinci Resolve project file on the desktop. Now most people call these DRP files, but it's the whole project exported into a file. So let's import that project into Blackmagic Cloud. So go back to the Cloud tab, and I go Import. And you can do this in reverse. There it is there. So you can take items out of the Cloud library and put them back into the local project. And there it is there. So let's open it. So we can click on the timeline. Oh, it's already up. And there it is. Now it opens like normal. You can see there it is there. That's our project. It's very hard to even know it's a cloud project. It just looks the same as a local project. You know, we can change edits and do various things. It's super easy. What I really need to do is get some help with the color correction. So I want to share this project with a colorist. Imagine using a freelance colorist on this job. So let's do that. So let's call a colorist and I can share how all this works. But first we have to share the project with the colorist. We can do it in Blackmagic Cloud, or we can actually do it in the Cloud tab in Davinci Resolve. Now we use their Blackmagic Cloud ID to share our project with them. So let's do that now. So I'll get their ID. And I'll go to the project. I'll share.
Yeah, so it looks like so far that this is not necessarily like a required thing, like the cloud. It looks like it's something that it's an add-on. So if you have teams and you have stuff like that, then you can, edit remotely and share projects and do stuff together. Because I mean, that would be a lot easier and that would be a lot better, right? Than using like a VPN or something like that into your software or into your network.
Plus Davinci Resolve now, when multi-user collaboration, will constantly save the changes as they work. So let's call the colorist. Get on Skype here. Hey, the camera in this monitor moves around. Hey, how you doing? Hello, freelance colorist.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
All right, so they're just doing formal kind of stuff. So this is like whatever, but I need to get an M1. I don't have an M1. I can't afford an M1. But I want to get like an M1 because I mean, there's so many different things you could do on it. And, eventually I'll be able to get an M1 and it'll be fantastic. Okay.
There it is.
Cool, Winter Wonderland. I can hear you really clearly. It sounds like you're only a few blocks away.
Good internet connection.
Yeah, there it is.
Okay, so I'll just need to relink that.
Yep.
Yo, they have.
There we go. And this is the timeline here that needs grading.
Yep. Yeah, there it is. I can see the timeline. That's my timeline. Great. Looks like it's all there. And it looks like my edit. So cool. If you can go to the color page and start grading.
Start with this first shot here. Bring up my scopes.
Yeah.
Go.
Cool. I should be able to see these grades here in my edit, so I'll switch back to my Davinci Resolve so I can watch from my Davinci.
Yeah, no problem. Do you want me to just, I can just work through all the shots and get that all graded for you?
That's great, So when anyone changes anything, you can see here in the viewer. Now, it won't update automatically, because that'd be confusing, but there will be an icon come up in the viewer that allows you to accept these changes.
Of course, they got like the cheesiest title they could have there. It's okay.
That grade's been done remotely. See these, looks so good. So that's the timeline where the color corrections added. We can actually see that. I'll accept those grades. We can see that because I can enable and disable the grades. Grades are great. you can see that even you can see what the clip the colorist is working on if I change to the color page. There you go. So this is great when you have two colorists working on the same project. So in the color page, you can see there's the icon there. So this workflow is really quite flexible. You know, it can be used in a bunch of different ways, so you can develop your own workflows. So it looks cool. There you are, working remotely. So thanks for that. I think your grades look really nice, and I'll let you keep color grading, and we'll talk to you later.
No problems. Thanks, Grant.
No worries. Take care. See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Cool. This is great. Oh, look at that. You can see Elizabeth moving down the grade. She must be checking the grades. You can actually see the grade she's working on as she's moving through the clips. This is so awesome when you've got more than one person working together. It's really cool. Imagine on-set grading where the colorist is actually in a post facility with a color accurate monitor and a big color panel. It would completely transform on-set grading because they could work remotely, but at the same time the shoot's actually happening. Now, the reason this works so well is we both had a copy of the media. Now, we use Dropbox to sync the media between the computers. I can show you the media on my Dropbox. I have it down here in the web browser. There it is there. That was my media.
Ew, who's using
I've installed the
Dropbox?
Dropbox up on this computer. But this means we both had copies of the media. However, Dropbox normally only downloads the files when you need them, and that actually doesn't work very well for video editing because it would slow everything down while you waited for files to come down. So to fix this, there is actually a setting in Dropbox that lets you cache everything locally. And I can show you that so you kind of know how to make that work. So this is the setting here. That's the one you want to set. This will make sure that the media is fully downloaded to the computer so Davinci Resolve can see it. And you can even actually do it by folder. So if I go into, let me minimize some of these things. I can actually go into the Dropbox media and I can right click, and this is the setting down here that lets you cache it all down. You can do it by folder. So it works quite well. So this is how you give everyone a local copy of the media. And it works quite well, but there is actually a limitation. What if there's not enough space on your local computer? And it works for freelancers who are working on multiple projects at the same time. All the media has to be synced before you can open the timeline. So everything has to be downloaded for each user. So the problem is, of course, is if you had like 5 people in a building working on a job, you've actually got to download the data 5 times. So what we really need is a network storage solution designed for film and television. Now we've done that, and it's called Blackmagic Cloud Store. It's a very high performance network storage with Dropbox sync. But because it's network storage, everybody can share the files on it. But it's also a Dropbox cache, so it's constantly syncing your media. Plus, it includes a bunch of features designed to solve cloud workflows in film and television. So let me show it to you. I'll bring it out. Let me move.
Freaking Dropbox. Dude, upgrade to Google Drive.
So as you can see, it actually is designed as our Blackmagic eGPU, but it's obviously very different internally. You know, we wanted to design a style that sort of suits a modern post-production facility. So it had to be attractive. Plus, it's important that it's portable, so you can take it to a shoot. But also, to me, it's to be really quiet because, you know, if you're doing audio work, you don't want to hear sound from the fan. But it's important that it needs massive performance, so you can use it with these really big digital film files. It also needs to support sync, so you can distribute media globally to each user. So it actually needs to do a lot of things. It's, you know, much more than a network storage solution. It features advanced technology. You know, it runs Blackmagic OS, so it's quite intelligent. It uses high-speed M.2 flash memory cards, so it's very fast. Plus, the flash memory cards are configured in a RAID 5, so there's redundancy. You know, M.2 flash memory cards are incredibly reliable, but there's, you know, this is an added level of protection. So let's check out the rear connections. I'll spin it around and show you.
Yeah, I'm not psyched about this part. Like, this is only, I mean, it's a cool idea. Like, it's a NAS unit. If you guys know what that is, it's called a network attached storage. So multiple people can essentially remote or, you know, connect in and edit off of that, right? We actually do have one, a NAS unit. We use Synology, fantastic people. But we use a Synology and it works perfectly. But I mean, come on, Google. Or not Google, Dropbox. Like, I want Google support. No one uses Dropbox.
Internal power supplies. So it'll keep running if one of the power supplies fails. So let's connect it up so I can show you how it works. So I'll turn it around. Just here.
It looks pretty dope, honestly. Like, that's pretty dope. Yeah, I do have a 10 gigabit Ethernet connection to it, John. John helped me.
Now, newer high-performance computers often have 10G Ethernet. This Mac Studio has 10G Ethernet. But if the computer you're using has 1G Ethernet, or it's a laptop with no Ethernet, then you can use a Thunderbolt to 10G Ethernet adapter. You know, we have one here, and that'll give you 10G Ethernet. So let's mount the Blackmagic Cloud Store on this computer. So just go to the Network tab. There it is there. And there's the folder. And there it is. That's all there is to it. Now we can access the disk. Now, the first version of Blackmagic Cloud Store uses guest logins, the software that's in it. That keeps it really simple, but we're going to add some custom logins soon, and and some software updates, so the IT people will be happy. But most people actually have secure local networks, so it's okay for the moment. Doing this makes it really easy to set it up without any technical knowledge. So before we copy some files, I thought it might be a good idea to collect the HDMI monitoring, so you can really help you see what's going on when we copy the files. So I'll plug in this HDMI monitor here, and you'll be able to see it.
All right, John's film. I see you're in here. If you can find a way to get this thing to run Google Drive, my gosh, that would be beautiful. That would be beautiful.
Customized with the Cloud Store utility software. Below that is the capacity indicator. It shows you how much space has been used. Now, below that area is actually the sinks currently operating. Then you have the connected users. You can see my computer's actually connected there. At the bottom of that is the hardware information. It's got the status of the 2 power supplies and things like that. And now on the right-hand side is the storage map. Now, this really dominates the display, and it shows you which areas of the store have information on them. The purple cells actually is where there's data held on the store, and the cells turn like a light blue when there's data being read, and then the cells turn orange when there's data being written. The size of the cell is actually on the lower left-hand side, and it changes based on the total storage capacity. Now, below the storage map is the data rate graphs. Now, these show the data rates for each of the 4 10G Ethernet ports. It also actually shows the connection speed. The connection speed is actually shown on the vertical axis of the graph. So if the label goes to 10, then you know that the 10G Ethernet, it's running at the full 10G speed. So there's actually really a lot of information displayed on this monitoring. Anyway, so now let's copy the media folder across to the Cloud Store, and we can actually watch it on display as it's copying. So I'll do that. Here's my Winter Wonderland folder here. So I'll copy it over. So you can see the data rate graph is now showing the data being written. Now the writes are in orange. You can actually see that on the orange cell light up in the storage map. It's showing that the file is being written to the store. Plus, there's a couple of big files on the disk already taking up a lot of space. So we can actually delete those files and watch the storage map change. So that folder's finished being copied. Now let's delete. And if you watch the storage map, if we cut to that, you'll actually see these files when I delete them. You'll see them all disappear. Oh, that was quick. So sometimes, depending if you've got a lot of files, you can see it actually still, you can actually see them as they're deleted. So it's pretty cool. Now we've updated the relink feature in Davinci Resolve 18, so you can now always relink to a different media folder. It allows you to switch between media folders, which is really important when you want to change from network storage and local storage. So my project was pointing to the local storage on this computer, but now I want to change it to the folder I copied across to the cloud source. So I'll just relink. So let me show you that. So I've still got Davinci running, and I'll go back to my edit. Oh, my cut page. Oh, I'll actually accept all those color grades that were changed, as long as they kept grading. Okay, so this is the local media. So now I'll relink, and I'll go to the Cloud Store. There it is there. There's the Winter Wonderland folder I just copied. And I'll relink. There it is. So now the project will use the folder on the Cloud Store. And if you actually watch the monitor, you can see it reading from the Cloud Store. So let me shuttle the timeline up and down a bit, and I'll show you. So you can see it there. So you can see the blue line. You can see the cell lighting up. That's Davinci reading the media file on the Cloud Store. And you can also see the data.
Yeah, so obviously right now he's just pretty much going over this kind of stuff, and we really don't care about this. I want Davinci Resolve 18 features. Currently, though, if you look up on Google, there's still no Davinci Resolve 17 link, so I can't just jump in and do it, and I was going to, but that's okay. Hey, I'm ranking #1. That's freaking great. But I wanted to just skip past all this and get me into Davinci Resolve 18 because that would be so much better. I understand NAS unit, very important. Don't get me wrong. Oh.
So let's do that. So I have the internet.
Just gonna kind of like mute him because obviously whatever, right? No one actually, not no one, but this is not necessarily relevant right now. But he is saying something about Davinci. Let's flippin' do this.
And things like that. But let's select the sync tab. Now, the first step is to log into Dropbox, into your Dropbox account. But to save time, I've already logged into my Dropbox account, so we don't need to do that. But we do need to add a sync, so let's do that now. There is there. So we need a name for the sync, and we also need to select the Dropbox folder and the Cloud Store folder. Now, I've already got a media. I've already got the media on my Dropbox account, so I can just select the folder, and it should be pretty easy to do. So, oops.
Yo, he is all about this Winter Wonderland thing. Like, shit. Just Winter Wonderland. Also, freaking Elias. No, it won't be. It will not be able to do that. Also, low-key, Elias was in a couple of my videos. He's a friend from that I actually knew years ago from YouTube. I met, and he's in a few of my videos. So if you see him, you know.
So it's uploading that file now. Now, any files added to this Blackmagic Cloud Store will sync to Dropbox, and then they'll sync down to other cloud stores. So everybody has a copy of the media. Now, it constantly syncs. You don't really need to do anything. And we're going to obviously expand to other sync services soon. Like, we've got Google Drive support almost complete. That'll update, will ship in a few weeks. We didn't quite make the ship date on these things, but we're getting really close. So it's all exciting, but there is actually an issue with sync. If you don't have an extremely fast internet connection, then the sync can be slow. Recently I did a multicam video with 7 cameras and had a terabyte of media. So the data can build up really quickly, and it could take a long time to upload. So what can we do? Well, the solution is to actually use proxies. However, to make it work, we really had to redesign how Davinci handled proxies. That's because the storage and Davinci both need to know how to use them. And if we don't have a consistent way to handle proxies, then everything just gets confusing. So in Davinci Resolve 18, there's a whole new way, there's a whole new proxy workflow built in. We can automatically render proxies with any proxy generator app. Proxies are now stored in a folder within the media. But you can actually extract them to a separate folder for offline work. But proxies will now act as a HD substitute for the original media files. They're really easy to locate because they're always stored in a folder called proxies. And because proxies are now predictable, they become much more powerful. Now, we've created a new tool called Blackmagic Proxy Generator. It's included free with Davinci Resolve Studio, and it's installed in the applications folder. So let me show it to you. I'll save that.
All right, hold on. He just said there's a proxy generator, so it's like a standalone program. So it might be here. We might have something like Media Encoder too.
So there's a media folder. I'll add the whole disk. This means it'll process the Winter Wonderland first, as it's first in the list, and it'll process the it processes the folders in list order. And you can actually click and rearrange a list. Let me show you that. Let me create a bit more name for the volume, so you can rechange the order. You can also select the proxy format. So you can select half resolution H.264, or you can actually select some full resolution HD formats in H.264, H.265, and ProRes formats. Let's select full HD resolution H.264 proxies and then start the app, which is that one there, which is already selected. But be careful if you change proxy formats, of course. If you change to a different format, it'll recreate all the proxies in that format. So you can see now it's checking the disk and then it's starting to render the proxies. So what's exciting is you can speed up the proxy rendering by running multiple copies of the proxy generator at the same time. So each computer could have a copy and then you could just run them all at the same time. So it basically creates an instant render farm for proxies. And once the proxies are finished rendering, it just keeps watching for any new media files. If any new media files appear, it'll automatically generate the proxies for them. And then this cloud store will sync them automatically. And in fact, if you can look, there it is there. If you look, you can see it's starting to sync the proxies as they're being generated. So they've started syncing now. And the cloud store will sync proxies before any other file type. So this means you could move like a big job anywhere in the world in 15 minutes or so. That's because the proxies are only a few gigabytes, so they copy very quickly, even on standard internet connections. Now, you can actually also set the cloud store to transfer proxies only, which means freelancers don't need to use original media files. They can just work with the proxies. Now, the proxies I've generated here are starting to sync automatically to Dropbox, which means they're now syncing down to other cloud stores. So let's check out how we can use them in Davinci Resolve 18. Now, because proxies are created in a predictable way, they're much more useful. It allows Davinci Resolve 18 to handle the proxies automatically because the proxies are built right into the workflow now. And there's a new proxy menu that shows, that's where you can select the proxies. So let me show you that.
All right, obviously a little like nonsense kind of stuff here. I think this is like the reality. This is like if a video wasn't cut down. I think this is a lot of what we're seeing, but that's totally fine. So the fact is we have potential Google Drive support. So John, unfortunately, looks like we're not going to have to make a fun video. I mean, we could anyway, but whatever. So yeah, I mean, this is I'm pretty psyched about this. Like, there's going to be a lot of cool things, I think, with this.
On the shots that you don't have any originals. When you work as a group, multiple people could be adding media to projects. So this helps you find any originals that might be missing. There's also a setting to turn the proxies off. And if you turn the proxies off and don't have an original, then the clip will be shown offline because the proxy's off, so it's not available. Plus, in Davinci Resolve 18, we can use the timeline indicator to show offline clips as well, so that helps. Offline clips will be shown with a red line. But what really matters here is that proxies files are a substitute for the original media file, and then Davinci manages them all automatically. So it's nice, but what happens if we want to do an offline workflow? For example, you want to travel and you want to take the proxies with you on a laptop. Your proxies are much smaller, so you can fit them on a lot of jobs on your computer. But if the proxies are stored in all the folders and with the original files, how do we get them out? Well, that's easy. The proxy generator has an extract proxies function. So I'll show you that to you. So I'll go back to the proxy generator. Now, first, before I do that, I have to rename my proxy folder that I originally had, my original proxy folder on the desktop. If I don't do that, it'll just merge the proxies into that folder, which can be useful, but you don't actually want to do that because, in this demonstration here, because I want to take my proxies away in a separate folder so I can take them and work offline. So let me rename that first.
They better have some more like in-depth like trainings on like their cloud proxy stuff, because obviously like it's probably gonna be a little confusing. I'll make some videos about this once I figure it out, and I'll actually, as long as like it's relevant to us, because if this isn't relevant, then I'm not gonna make a video. But I think that this is actually gonna be pretty cool. And this right here, what he's talking about is aside. This is not even including that new NAS unit, right? Like he's talking about a free proxy generator / renderer that we get for free with Davinci Resolve 18. Okay, so you're gonna have it.
Each camera original has a proxy file that works as a stand-in for the original. So now I can just take this computer away and work remotely. So overall, I think this is a much better way to handle proxies now. But the big advantage is that proxies are now predictable, so other products can use them. That's why they work so well in Davinci Resolve. There's rules now on how proxies work. It's also the key to how the cloud store can recognize proxies and sync them first. Or you can select the cloud store to sync only proxies, which is good. So often you don't need the originals. Like if you're doing work such as color correction, you can just use the proxies. In the past, people have spent a lot of time managing proxies. Now you don't have to do any of that. You don't have to worry about anything because you just push a button in the proxy generator, it'll make sure they're all okay. However, that's not all we can do with proxies. Remember the Hyperdeck shuttle that we talked about before? Well, we are working on a new software update for it. It'll let you play back from the cloud store. Now, what's really exciting about this is that the proxy files let you do this. It's because it's a HD deck, it'll play back HD files. But with a proxy generator, it'll convert all the media to HD proxies. Even high resolution, 12K digital film files, everything just gets converted to HD proxies. And plus all the proxies are in proxy folders, so it's consistent and it's predictable. So this means the Hyperdeck Shuttle HD can find and play the proxies. It totally transfers the Hyperdeck Shuttle in your media browser.
I'm going to totally throw this question up, right? Let's take a poll. How many people actually use proxies, or how many just drop your timeline resolution? So I do both, actually, because I do 10-bit footage at 4K. 4K 10-bit is brutal on any graphics card. It doesn't matter what you have. It's brutal, right? So if you have like an hour's worth of footage or 20 minutes worth of footage, you're gonna be chopping through that thing. So I use both.
What I'll do is I'll get rid of this guy. I'll move this out of the way. I'll plug in the power. So I'll move our cloud store over a little. In fact, I'll.
All right, yeah, whatever. All right, I'm sorry. He's just setting up stuff. So, yeah. Personally, I use proxies, like I said, because it's going to be a lot better for everybody at that point. And if you have to like send footage elsewhere, you're going to want to send the proxies and not the full raw footage, because that's going to be just a brutal thing. Like normal footage for me is like 80 gigabytes, 70 gigabytes, something like that, because I'm a perfectionist and I like to, we're going to delete this person. Yeah, there it is. So we're going to delete him. Sorry about that, guys. If you guys see any other stuff like that, please. Oh, I don't know where he went. Oh, yeah, please just report them. I'll try to report them. I removed them at, oh, they're back again. Put user in timeout. Block user. All right, so I blocked. He's not there anymore.
Now it's actually playing back the proxy, not the camera original media.
So, yep.
To that, when you're in scroll, it'll display a file path. It's a path to the file you're viewing. So let's try it out. So if I push scroll, you can see it there. You can see the file path. Now when I scroll, you can see the files, and they're including the files where they're enclosing folders. So you can see me there. I'll scroll down a bit so you can see the folder change. There it is there, rides and people and things like that. One thing is,
all right, so what he's saying here is that essentially you can just use that stupid thing and connect it to your NAS unit and look through the footage of a folder. I pretty much summarized that faster than he did. Okay, I do respect this guy. I think he's amazing. I think he's a champ, right? Obviously, you have to give all this detail, but I'm just going to give you the Spark notes. So yeah, I mean, that's a real thing. However, if any of you have ever used that jog wheel that he's got, dude, that thing is so nice.
But if you want to navigate back up, you press clip. But let me just scroll around and show you. So now it's limited to the rides folder only. That's all the way one way, all the way the other. And if I press clip, I go back up to the higher level. See, there I am. So now I'm back into the whole lot. See, I'm back to everything. So you can see it's really nice and it's very easy to use. So this new Hyperdeck shuttle software will be available free of charge. And I think it'd probably ship in a month or two. You know, we wanted to really focus on shipping the Hyperdeck shuttle first, and then we'll continue to work on this software update. Plus with the new file browsing, it'll also work with the media cards and USB disks, which I think will be really nice. So it's quite a big update, and I think it'll be very exciting. Okay, so now let's talk about what happens if you build a large facility. Now, I really wanted to show you how fast the Blackmagic Cloud Store is, and it's pretty important because this is designed for high-end film and television work, so it has to handle these workflows. So, you know, let's add a lot of uses to this Cloud Store. Actually, first, let me connect the HDMI back so you can see what's going on.
All right, I want the features. That's what I'm about. I want the Davinci Resolve 18 features. I get it. Cloud update, very amazing. It is good though if he does say like it's fast. Obviously, that's really good. Let's see what he's doing.
So you can see it's the whole training booth that we normally use at trade shows. Now all these computers are actually connected to an Ethernet switch. So now I need to plug that switch into the Cloud Store. So let's do that now. Here's the cable. I'll unplug that.
Yo, he's just been doing this like live presentation, like right in front of like 20 people. That's weird. That is weird.
And now we'll get everyone to connect to the Cloud Store. So can everyone connect to the Cloud Store? We should be able to watch it on the monitoring output. You can see everyone connecting. Yeah, look at that. So the next step is I need to share my project with everyone so they can actually work on it. And that's easy. You know, we did it before with the freelance cards. We just add their Blackmagic Cloud IDs. And I'll show you how to do that. But I do have a lot of people here. So what I'll do is I'll paste in a list of Blackmagic Cloud IDs all at once. I have all the IDs in a text document. So let me show you. I'll quit these and close these. And I have them all here. You can also do a comma list if you're doing it from like an email. I can do it from within Davinci as well. So I can go to the...
No, I don't think they did say that it's a separate price. I don't think he said it's a separate price. I would assume it might be because, I mean, you're utilizing their servers, but who knows? It doesn't sound like it's going to be a necessary upgrade for everybody, right? So if you have Studio, I don't think you're required. Don't quote me on that. I don't think you're required to have like a subscription for it. But if you're going to be utilizing their servers, it would make sense they'd probably need to do that.
Some people are starting up Davinci. So there you should see it. So there shouldn't be any need to relink because I did that on my Mac Studio over here before. So the media will automatically be pointing to the same storage. So the media should just appear and the timelines should just come up. Only people with different storage off-site would need to relink because, Davinci Resolve will track the storage for each person. But in our case, everyone's using the same cloud store. Now, before we start also, if everyone could check set to camera originals in the proxy menu, really to make this a good test, we want to really load up the network by using camera original files. So if everyone could open and play my timeline, that'd be great. Now each user has my timeline playing with the shared media and we're all working together. The cloud store has enough speed to allow everyone to work at the same time. But what if my production company also has a studio with cameras? It'd be really great to be able to record multicam into the cloud store. You imagine having a studio like constantly shooting while the team is doing post-production all at the same time, all using the single cloud store. This would replace those really big, expensive SAN network disk systems used by home facilities. Central storage is a really extremely fast way to work, but these SAN-based systems are mechanical hard disks are very expensive and they require constant maintenance. So the Blackmagic Cloud Store really is a nice way to get this sort of SAN workflow without all the SAN problems. But we are still connected to a cloud store over Ethernet, and networks are chaotic and unpredictable. So if we want reliable recordings, we really need to consider network issues. The network could be interrupted if there's a heavy load, or the network could even fail right in the middle of the job. So we really need to deal with that. And so we need protection for live recording as it cannot go wrong. Luckily, our Hyperdeck Extreme product has a cache feature, plus it has high-speed 10G Ethernet as well. So what this means is that we can use a Hyperdeck Extreme to record each camera into the cloud store. Now, we've been working on a software update for Hyperdeck Extreme to enable recording into the Blackmagic Cloud Store. Then if you add an M.2 flash memory card, you can continue to record even if the network goes down. And this will give you reliable multicam recordings. So behind us over here, I've got 9 Hyperdeck Extremes that simulate 9 camera streams.
Yeah, I bet you got 9. I see it. It's a freaking lot of Hyperdeck Extremes, bro. I don't even know what they are. Like Hyperdeck. I mean, I don't actually know what they are. But I'm assuming it's like like something receiving a feed from like a live camera. But anyway, hopefully they get to the Davinci Resolve 18 stuff, and hopefully it's more in depth than just the cloud update, because that's nice and all, but I don't know. I mean, nothing I'd be like incredibly excited about. I'd be like, yeah, it's cool, but whatever, right?
Folders and select the folder, and there it is. Now it's connected. So that's the new menu. So every Hyperdeck here also has a cache added. And I can display a slide if the guys can cut to the slide showing you where the cache is. It's on the bottom of the Hyperdeck. And you just insert the card in there, and there's a heatsink gasket you have to put on it to thermally cool it. It's not very difficult to install. Now, we've actually installed a 2 terabyte M.2 flash memory card into each deck. You can see it on the cache indicator if you can get a close up there. That's hours of cache on each deck. It's probably much bigger than we really needed. Now we've connected all the remote controls together as well, so they're all linked. So that means when I press record on the controller, all the decks will go and record together. So let's do that. I'll press record. So there they go. So now they're all recording. Now we're recording all the Hyperdecks into the Blackmagic Cloud Store, and they're all recording a pretty high data rate actually. It's Ultra HD 2160p 5994 in ProRes. And you can see if you look, you can see it's a lot of data being recorded. You can see the Ethernet data graph showing the data being written. And now, of course, we've got everyone playing and using.
I do have to say, I really love their like design here. This is like so cool. Like, I don't know. I think that just looks like such a cool user interface. I mean, essentially why this is going to be important, or for some people, not necessarily everyday users like us, that's going to be important because with broadcast and live events, you're going to essentially be able to record stuff live and import it immediately into your server and do all of that fun stuff, right? It's going to be super quick, super efficient, kind of like utilizing almost like, how would I say it? It's like you're uploading and editing it. You could upload and edit at the same time almost.
There it is. And we'll load the media in. And of course, it's on my cloud store. It'll ask me to change the format because this is 59:4. There it is. So that's cool. So let's lay down one of the tracks in the timeline. Because it's multicam, we can then go into the sync bin. So let's do that. So I'll get the wide shot. There it is there. Actually, I'll do it as an edit. So drop it down. There it is in the timeline. Now I can go into the sync bin, and you can see it's synchronized all those recordings together. So it's cool. And then, we can do all the angles that are recorded. They're all in sync. They have the same time code. We can scroll up and down, add a cutaway. It's like if we wanted to add a cutaway, we can just do that. There it is there. And it's all in sync. So really anyone here can work with this media. Everyone can work on the same timeline. If we want to get the studio, like if we want to get this to a studio offsite, then we can create proxies. So let's create proxies for the new recording. Now, remember how I said before, it's possible to run more than one copy of the proxy generator? Let's ask the training booth team to actually do this and we can show you. So can everybody run the proxy generator?
Okay, so you can't, like, with the proxy generator, you can't utilize more than like one instance of it at a time. I thought that's what he was referring to earlier. Sounds like you need to have multiple computers to run multiple proxy generators. So that's just unfortunate. But essentially at this point, all they're doing is showing off that feature that they can actually utilize all the different instances of that, or all the different people using proxies at the same time. But yeah, so essentially, like, once again, for most people, this is not going to be a super relevant thing, but for high-end post-production companies and people who are doing like a lot of live stuff, absolutely, this is going to be super helpful. And like, let's say it's like $5,000 for this thing. Like, dude, for a production company, that's like chump change, right? Like $5,000. Think about that. Like Marvel's movie, what was it? Infinity War and Endgame, $300 million, right there. $5,000. Like, it's, you know what I mean? Very different, I think.
The proxy sync to be set for each separate sync. At the moment, it's on the whole cloud store. Also, manual priority of the sync order will be really good. So when you add a multiple syncs, being able to reorder them, a bit like how the proxy generator does it. So there's a few things we can add. Of course, customize user login. So there's a lot more we can really do. So initially, there'll be 3 models of the Blackmagic Cloud Store. There'll be a 20 terabyte, an 80 terabyte, and a 320 terabyte model. And that's the usable space. In reality, there's actually a fair bit of extra storage because of the RAID protection. So with these sizes, you can see that the Blackmagic Cloud Store is actually a high-end product. It's really designed for the larger facilities. The 20 terabyte model will be priced at $9,595, and the 80 terabyte model will be priced at $29,995. And the 320 terabyte model will be built to order, so we'll quote prices on that when it's ordered. Of course, the price is actually defined by the high cost of the flash memory we use. At these large capacities, it's quite a high-end storage solution. And so it's extremely powerful, but we did think about smaller companies who don't need all that. Plus freelancers who are working from home, or sort of small offices who don't need all this power. So to solve this problem, we actually have a more affordable model. So it's called Blackmagic Cloud Store Mini. Let me bring it out and I'll show you. Actually, I'll make some space here.
Okay, because of all the flash memory, it's like freaking expensive, like so expensive.
As you can see, it's half rack width. That means you can use it.
But this is his.
It has 8 terabytes of high-speed flash storage in a RAID 0 configuration. Let's check out the connections. You can see there's a 10G Ethernet port, so it's still very fast, but it also has a 1G Ethernet port for connecting to your existing network. It's got like a switch in it. That means you can use it on high speed and regular networks at the same time. Workstations connect via the 10G port for the high speed, but everyone else can connect via the 1G port. It also has a USB port. Now, the USB allows an interesting feature. Modern laptops don't actually have Ethernet because they're so thin. So we built the Ethernet dongle, those USB Ethernet dongles, we built it into the Cloud Store Mini. This means you don't need one of those USB dongles. You can just plug the USB cable from your computer directly into the Cloud Store Mini. The USB port's actually a network port when it's connected to a computer. So it's fantastic if you just want to access some files quickly. Now, it also has that HDMI monitoring output. That is the same monitoring as the bigger Cloud Store. So let's plug it in and we'll check it out. Turn it around. So first,
I'm really not a fan about this whole like 8 terabyte. Like, they better have more than that, because 8 terabyte is not a lot for video files. Not a lot at all. But I mean, yeah, dang. That's really, like, I could buy a hard drive. I could buy like I don't know, like for $1,000, right? You could buy like 40 terabytes worth of hard drives, something like that. Dang, man.
I can actually rename that back again. Okay.
So Unhinged says you're gonna need way more subscribers to be able to afford that thing. Yeah, yeah. Honestly, like more, not even more subscribers. I mean, if you guys haven't subscribed, subscribe. There's more Davinci Resolve content coming. But honestly, like I don't make a lot of money off of YouTube, like barely enough for like normal rent. So, you know, stuff like templates and stuff like that, that's where like that's the most you can support me, like, and be able to do that kind of stuff is you know, from templates and our store. So that's the only way I'd be able to get that thing. A freaking beast. It's insane.
Actually, as well. And we'll also need to switch the Davinci timeline across to the CloudStore Mini. So once everybody's connected, I guess if they can relink the timeline. Now we have the same shared project here using the same media on the CloudStore Mini. So once everyone's relinked, they should be able to start playing back the timeline. There you go. So all these computers are playing from the single CloudStore Mini. You can see it's still very fast. I don't really have time to plug in the hyperdecks behind me, but that also works fine. So the Blackmagic CloudStore Mini is very powerful. It's extremely high performance. It's got the 10G Ethernet port. It has the Dropbox sync, so you can share your media globally. It also supports the Proxy workflow. And even though it's rack mount, it's also very quiet. Yeah, cooling's quite important with flash memory because it slows down when it's heavily used. The memory chips actually heat up when the data rate slows down. So Blackmagic CloudStore Mini will actively cool the memory core to maintain performance like the CloudStore does. Now the HDMI output, it's got that for the monitoring. So it's got this really nice, it's a really nice model. It's powerful and it's affordable. So the Blackmagic CloudStore Mini is actually available now. Initially, there'll be a single 8 terabyte model, and it'll be priced at $2,995. Again, the price is set by the cost of the flash memory.
That's so expensive. That's so expensive. Like $3,000. Dude, I have literally 80 terabytes in the other room, and I spent about $3,000. And it's on a NAS unit, right? That's somebody needs to rip the OS and just distribute it, right? That's really what has to happen is someone, John's Films, rip it, get it to happen.
There it is there. You can see it's quite small. It has all the network electronics built in. It also has an access indicator across the front, so you can see when it's active. So let me show you the connections. They're on the back here. So you can see it's got the high-speed 10G Ethernet port, so it's really quite fast. There's actually 2 USB ports for connecting disks, so it supports 2 separate disks at the same time. It also supports most USB-C disks. Maybe there's some of the really high-powered ones that won't support, but pretty much all disks. But basically any disk that works with our cameras. It also supports USB disk arrays that have a hardware RAID chip. It has the same HDMI monitoring outputs. You can see the storage map, connected users, Dropbox syncs, all that stuff. It also has a 12-volt DC power connection, and it includes a power supply. So let's plug it in. So I'll bring it around here. So I'll plug in the power first. I'll use the power from the hyperdeck. Get rid of the tangle here.
All right, this right here is potentially like a nice redemption for them, right? They just dropped like freaking 10 to 30K on that thing right here. Freaking 3,000 for 8 terabytes of, you know, flash storage. And then whatever the heck this thing is, so you can use your own storage. So I don't know, you know, let's say I could actually potentially utilize my NAS unit and upload it to the cloud. So that actually might work. And I have that drive right there that he's got in his hand. So, you know, I know that one will work for sure. So this is actually gonna, you know, potentially be a really nice thing to utilize in the cloud pod. So that's got 2 terabyte. No, okay. It's reading the 2 terabyte drive.
There it is there. There it is. So now anyone can access this disk. So let's load a clip. There it goes there. So you can see the activity indicator on the front. There it is there, it lights up. You can see that when you're scrolling. I can also add Dropbox syncs if I need to. and I can run the Blackmagic proxy generator to generate proxies for this disk because it just came back from a shoot. So let's actually do that. So what I'll do is I'll close that window. I'll run the proxy generator.
I think this thing's got to be like it. Okay, for what it is, right? You're talking like it pretty much reads and uploads. I would say like nothing more than $300, $399 maybe. I don't know. I probably wouldn't buy it at that point, but price is going to be, if they say like 500, 600, 700, I would, no. I know yeah. No, I get that. Yeah, I feel you, JD. I hope it's not 750. That's a lot of money.
And they slow down. Now, our Blackmagic cloud stores have active cooling, so they stay fast even under heavy load. But for general use, I don't think that's a huge limitation. But the big advantage is you get your media on the media disk from your shoot on the network instantly. So you don't even have this delay of copying the files. We've already half generated all the proxies for this media now. So the Blackmagic Cloud Pod is also available now. I think it's a great way to try out the cloud workflow. It'll be priced at $395. It's more affordable because it doesn't have any flash memory. You use USB disks. But I like that it still has the monitor output because that's kind of the fun bit.
All right. A little high, but nope. We don't care about that. Get away from the hyperdeck. $395, that's not horrible. All right. Like the fact that they charged $399 last year for their, like, what was it? That stupid, the editing keypad. That would probably make sense. Of course, hyperdeck is going to be freaking expensive. 3K. Hey, someone said 9K, so that's actually less. But
M.2 memory card, which means you get reliable ISO recording even on a busy network. So I think this will be an important model. As for the Hyperdeck Extreme software update that we showed with the network recording, we expect that again in a month or two. It's working well, but we need to beta test it. A lot of the stuff, things are working between each other, so we need to do a lot of beta testing. And so that new software will also be a free update when it's available. So we did talk about Davinci Resolve 18 in this update, but there are a lot of other collaboration features than the ones we showed you. Like there's timeline compare to check between differences in timelines. It's got live chat built in, so you can chat with other users, particularly when you're in different locations. So these are really quite useful features for collaborative workflows. However, cloud workflow is not the only thing we've been doing. We have some clips that we've got some trainers to do for us to show us some of the new features in Davinci Resolve 18. So I'd like to play those clips for you now. So let's start with color.
Here it is.
18. The addition of new effects and updates to existing tools has expanded grading functionality more than ever. The Object Mask is a groundbreaking tracking tool that intuitively detects and tracks objects within a shot. To activate it, open the Magic Mask palette and click the Object Mask button. Drag in the viewer to make an initial selection and enable the mask overlay to review and fine-tune the result. When you're satisfied, track the shot using the transport controls in the palette. Once keyed, objects can be individually graded to produce the optimal look for your scene. The Object Mask produces very impressive results, even upon initial selection. However, it also features helpful additive and subtractive strokes to help with more challenging tracks. This makes it possible to select visually complex objects and follow them, even as they are obscured by other elements in the scene or if they leave the frame. Going beyond simple chroma and luma keying, the Object Mask makes precise selections even when there are strong shadows or dramatic fluctuations in light. The palette's parameters allow you to control the complexity of the matte, with the better quality suited for selections with very fine detail, like fur or hair. The Object Mask has been tested on thousands of objects and has a recognition rate unlike any other tool in the industry. This includes people, animals, vehicles, facial features, and countless other elements. Use the Object Mask to emphasize products in commercials, perform sky replacements, or any number of creative applications that even we haven't thought of yet.
That's pretty cool.
In the Resolve Effects panel, the new Depth Map effect generates a 3D matte key that will allow you to grade the foreground of a shot separately from the background, or vice versa. After adding the depth map tool to your node pipeline, use the comprehensive parameters in the OpenEffects palette to determine the depth of the matte, to isolate a range, and finesse the matte for a smooth result. Once the depth has been successfully mapped, connect the output key of the depth map node to any downstream corrector node to isolate grades or effects. Use this workflow to bring greater attention to action in the foreground, to help interview subjects stand out, to add atmosphere to a scene, or even to mimic a shallow depth of field with the help of a blur tool. The new surface tracker can be used to apply images or effects to elements with a moving surface. In particular, it's designed to work with textured surfaces that fold or change perspective in dramatic ways, like a t-shirt, a banner, or the side of a face. After dragging the surface tracker effect into your node pipeline, click in the viewer to define the bounds of the area you wish to track. Then click the Mesh button to review the default grid that's generated based on your area selection. The points and their connection lines represent the trackable features of the texture. They can be increased and refined in the Mesh options. Run the track, and then adjust parameters to change the motion range or mesh rigidity. You can then drag and drop an image into the node pipeline, connect it to the surface tracker node, and use the settings to adjust its size and placement on the tracked surface. You can seamlessly blend your tracked image to the environment with the help of standard corrector nodes and existing effects like film grain and patch replacer. And with a slightly different workflow, you can also apply effects to the warped surface by first generating a stabilized output of the area and reapplying it to the surface tracker. The surface tracker offers robust pattern recognition and warps in response to motion in the tracked surface, but it remains highly customizable. You can change mesh bounds, introduce holes, or design your own track pattern by warping a default mesh to match the folds of a material. You can also combine the surface tracker with power windows to isolate the end result to specific regions of the tracked area. The beauty effect now features an ultra beauty mode that gives you advanced control over a subject when performing corrective beauty work. Developed with feedback from professional colorists, this tool makes it possible to address general imperfections by smoothing skin and then recovering detail to produce a result that is natural and complementary to the subject. This approach results in some interesting application potential when it comes to smoothing any rough surface, from damaged walls and roads to distracting reflections or even video compression artifacts like banding and aliasing. The fast noise effect generates randomized noise data that can be used to replicate different types of atmosphere or particle-like effects. Its many parameters give you advanced control over the final appearance of the noise, but you can also use the preset menu at the top to get a quick start on effects like mist and smoke, which you can then track to the motion of your shot using the effects tracker. Other presets act as displacement maps that can warp your image to imitate the motion of water or heat haze. The edge detect effect has been reworked to include new gamma and filter controls, as well as a new half-edge option that allows you to keep only the light or dark side of an edge. Use this tool to sharpen soft clips, or inversely to create a glow around a subject. The D-spill effect helps clean up subjects affected by unwanted color spills. It works with green, blue, and even red chroma screens. Combine it with a magic mask to remove natural color cast from environments with dominant hues. The Transform plugin now supports an additional RGB input, allowing you to position and composite one image over another within a single clip. In the Chromatic Aberration Removal plugin, a green-purple slider has been added to help counteract every possible variation of chromatic lens aberration. In the Lens Reflections effect, bokeh has been added as a preset, allowing you to imitate this distinct lens aesthetic on out-of-focus lens reflections generated from highlights and light sources. And when working with the Film Grain plugin, you now have the option to animate it with every refresh, meaning that instead of seeing static grain, you will now have animated grain, giving you a clearer representation of your final look as you are grading. Other system improvements give you the option to render individual clips with timeline effects. There's now support for 10-bit viewers on Windows and Linux, and the option to stream video outputs to remote monitors when collaborating with others. This covers just some of the new features in Davinci Resolve 18's color page. Thank you for watching.
That's really great. I mean, some of our AI technology now is really amazing. So next up, let's check out what's new in editing.
Davinci Resolve 18 has multiple improvements for editors and VFX artists. The Refresh Project Manager now has dedicated buttons for easier import and export of Davinci Resolve project files, along with new options for copying projects between local, network, and cloud-based project libraries. And now you
ban
can
that, dude.
instantly set customized project settings to be the default for all new projects using the option in the Project Settings window. A new user preference option allows you to automatically generate keywords when importing media that contains macOS Finder tags, which are then instantly displayed within the keyword smart bins. The new Blackmagic Proxy Generator app automatically creates proxy files for media placed in a specific watch folder. These proxy files are then automatically linked when the full-res camera files are imported into a project. This automatic linking also happens if the proxies are created once the media has been imported. It's also now easier to identify which clips in your project are using proxy files. A new proxy icon is displayed next to the clip name or on the clip thumbnail in the media pool. The same icon can also be seen for any clips using proxy media in the timeline and in the color page. If generating proxy files from Resolve, you can now choose where the proxies will be stored from new options in the media storage preferences. You can use the proxy subfolders in the media file locations as the Proxy Generator app does, the location set in the project settings, or have Resolve ask where the proxies should be stored each time you choose to generate them. A new proxy handling submenu option allows you to specify how your proxy files are used. Preferred proxies will use available proxy media for all clips. If no proxies are available, the original media file is used. Prefer camera originals will ignore any proxies and use the original media file. But if the original file isn't available and a proxy file is, then the proxy will be used. These options are particularly useful when working remotely using the new cloud collaboration features, as they enable you to work with available files as they are being synced. Alternatively, you can choose to disable all proxies when grading or working on visual effects, with a dedicated menu for these options being available in the cut page. Davinci Resolve 18 has multiple improvements for subtitling, with extended support for importing TTML and XML files, and subtitles embedded in XMF and IMF files. In the timeline, each subtitle track can now contain multiple simultaneous captions. Simply right-click the subtitle track in the timeline to add a new region or rename an existing region. Each region can have its own formatting and can contain additional overlapping captions, ideal for indicating different speakers or multiple simultaneous sounds on complex soundtracks.
That wouldn't be possible.
Well, it's possible, Dr. Kaminsky, because it's happening. I need you to tell me everything you know about the syncs.
That's pretty cool.
For larger multicam projects, a new 5x5 layout allows you to see up to 25 different angles at the same time. Shape, iris, and white transitions now have a new option for quickly reversing the direction of those transitions. You can now navigate directly to keyframes outside the limits of trimmed timeline clips, either using the next and previous keyframe controls in the inspector or by using keyboard shortcuts, ideal for refining animations beyond a clip's duration in the timeline. Improvements to the way Fusion elements are now processed have resulted in huge increases to real-time performance for many of the Fusion templates in the edit page.
It's a real
In
thing.
Davinci Resolve 18, many of the included templates can now play back in real time without the need to enable the render cache. The updated live preview feature for text clips and Fusion templates also allows for the instant adjustment of colors. Significant performance changes have been introduced to Fusion's Paint tool, making it a faster, GPU-accelerated tool with higher quality results and increased rendering speeds, making this an all-round, more productive tool. Fusion's Merge tool now includes additional blend modes to help create various effects and looks. This support has been extended to imported PSD files, preserving any blending operations that may have been used in the original source file. 5 new merge operations have also been included. Conjoint and disjoint make it easier to combine alpha channels, whilst mask and stencil allow you to easily merge and combine mats. Davinci Resolve 18 now also supports direct uploading to supported social media accounts as part of the Deliver page settings. And the new Quick Export window features improved layouts for easier access to multiple export presets.
So that's great. There's some really nice new features there. Okay, so next up is audio. So let's check out what's new in Fairlight Audio.
The Fairlight audio page is loaded with new features, intuitive controls, and enhanced tools for professional audio editing, mixing, and recording in traditional and multi-user workflows. FlexBus is Fairlight's flexible audio busing and routing system. Davinci Resolve 18 users can now convert a legacy FixBus project to FlexBus in the project settings dialog. FlexBus projects offer new and innovative workflows with nested timelines, so you can quickly merge one timeline into another. Let's take a closer look. In this example, I need to add the dialog mixer's timeline to the master mix, so I'll simply drag the dialog timeline to an empty track, where it appears as a single clip that can be played as is or expanded with a right-click and decomposed to new tracks. From here, there are several options. Choosing New Matching Buses adds your mix from the nested timeline to the existing timeline by creating completely new matching buses, keeping both the original buses in the current timeline and buses from the nested timeline intact. The new buses include all of the bus routings, processing, settings, and automation from the nested source timeline. Previously existing buses in the current timeline are not affected in any way. This workflow is great for combining mix elements from different contributors' work into a template or master timeline for mixing. If you want to merge your mix to an existing mix in another timeline, choose the Preserve option, which preserves all of the master bus information in the current timeline and routes existing buses from the source nest to the same buses in the open timeline. In this example, I'll add a Foley Effects mix to a mix in progress and choose the Decompose to New Tracks, Preserve Existing Paths option. This preserves the mix in progress. All the incoming tracks are routed to the matching buses without changing any of their settings or automation. If you have additional buses in your nested source timeline, they'll be brought in as new buses with all their connections and information intact. There's also a clips only option available on the edit page for merging only clips from the nest into existing tracks in the current timeline. Here, I'll drag the edited Foley session to the master timeline. Go to the edit page and decompose clips only. Now the Foley clips are in perfect sync and ready for mixing. With Davinci Resolve 18, you can freely rearrange tracks and buses in the tracks index. You can even move buses and VCA groups into the tracks area to customize fader mapping and organize your mix. The new track and bus order is reflected in the monitoring panel, timeline, and mixer. In the mixer, you can choose the option for single mixer view, which removes the divider between the tracks and buses. You can reset the track order anytime right here in the Mixer Options menu. The Fairlight Mixer offers a variety of enhanced processing features like improved plugin management with easy menu options to delete, disable, or replace plugins. Fairlight's built-in channel EQ and dynamics processing controls are more intuitive than ever, with single-click bypass to toggle on or off, right-click or keyboard shortcut options to copy and paste to another channel, and double-click to open. Inside the Channel Strip EQ window, there's a set of new built-in presets for dialogue, sound design, and even music mastering. There's also improved cue controls with mouse wheel input. Simply hover over the handle on the graph and scroll the mouse wheel to raise or narrow the bandwidth. The Channel Dynamics window also includes a handy set of built-in presets, enhanced metering and gain display, plus new soft knee and dry mix controls in FlexBus projects. FlexBus routing is faster than ever. Simply click to choose one bus at a time, or hold the Option-Alt modifier key to apply to all selected tracks or buses at once. This is awesome for quickly routing, clearing, or disabling FlexBus outputs and sends.
That's pretty dope.
Over in the timeline, you'll find a variety of improvements based on user requests, like the ability to double-click a clip in the timeline to rename it, and easily set per-track clip names for new recordings right in the timeline. You'll also find improved pitch shifting and audio retimes for multi-channel audio.
All right, cool. Cool.
And easy Option-Alt modifier combinations to add and remove keyframes. For elastic wave speed changes, use Command-click to add keyframes and Command-Option-click to remove them. For clip gain, use Option-click to add keyframes and Command-Option-click to remove them.
That's been here already,
you can
though.
even apply clip gain to a range selection in either 1 decibel or 3 decibel increments. Davinci Resolve 18 also offers a variety of audio nudge options, including new audio subframe nudge controls for clip and range selections. Choose either millisecond or subframe intervals, set the amount, and save. Feel free to create your own subframe nudge shortcuts in the keyboard customization window. Fairlight's automation toolset now includes independent controls to enable automation and expose global controls for automation parameter type, so you can show or hide the automation control toolbar as needed without affecting whether the automation is on or off. Finally, there's improved audio metering with IEC, digital VU, and custom meter presets with project settings for level detector, scale, decay, peak indicator, and more. So you can choose your preferred metering settings for your recording, editing, and mixing sessions. These are just some of the exciting new audio features in Davinci Resolve 18.
So I think this is a really nice update. It's a monster update. It's a big one. As you know, we've been actually releasing acceleration updates for the Apple M1 chip over the last year. And we've rewritten the entire rendering engine so it can support these new M1 computers. Plus, we've rewritten the entire project management tool to support the cloud workflows. So there's a lot of new code in Davinci Resolve 18. So what that means is to ensure that it's all really working well, we're going to release it as a public beta. It'll be available from today. Now, Davinci Resolve 18 will be a free update for all users. It's a public beta, so don't install it in the middle of a job. You will have to do a database upgrade after you install it because there's some database changes. I always export my projects as a DRP file just for safety. But I think it's going to be really exciting to try out these new cloud workflows. Now, the Blackmagic Proxy Generator will be included free with Davinci Resolve Studio. It's installed into the Applications folder as a separate application, and you can just leave it running and it'll create proxies automatically. Now, there's actually also a version of the Blackmagic Proxy Generator included with the free Davinci Resolve, but it's called Blackmagic Proxy Generator Lite. It's the same, but it's actually missing some of the file formats, and that's due to licensing. So you only get the full file formats with Davinci Resolve Studio, but it's a really good to include it anyway, even if it's a bit limited. The the Blackmagic Proxy Generator Lite will be included with the Cloud Store products as well. And it's supported on both Mac and Windows. But the Windows version actually has less codecs than the Mac version. That's because the Lite version uses codecs built into the operating system. So it's really dependent on that. But you can fix that on the Windows side if you buy the codec upgrade from Microsoft for Windows. So now I want to come back to Blackmagic Cloud. Now I haven't shown you the presentations feature yet. And so this is pretty exciting and it lets you present your work to clients. So let me show you now how it works. And so we'll start by coming back to the computer and selecting presentations. So let me come back, I'll quit that. And I'll go back to, well, there's presentations up there.
Okay, cool. So today after the stream, it looks like this is going to be going live. Davinci Resolve 18, of course, expect some videos from me. This is going to actually happen. We're going to keep watching, but you know, just going to go over a couple of comments right here. So, oh, that's the wrong one. So studio owners get a free upgrade. Well, everybody gets a free upgrade. Davinci Resolve 18 is going to have the free version and the studio version, right? So the studio version is going to have like the full proxy generator, it looks like. Whereas the Davinci Resolve 18 free version is going to have like a light version. But he did say there's going to be a Davinci Resolve 18 free version. It's just not going to have the full features of the proxy generator.
Time if you need to check something. A good example if you wanted to read or add some annotations. So let's upload a video and we'll review it. So we go into clips, upload files, and we've got a file on our desktop. This is a video of around our office. So we'll upload that. There it is now and it's uploading. You can also upload direct from Davinci Resolve. So, you know, we've got the team here in the studio. So what we want to do is share the presentation with them. Now, this could be a team spread around the world or a team, you know, in different parts of the building. So to do that, we'll add some users. Now, this is similar to the project server. I just add some people. And yeah, you use their Blackmagic Cloud ID to do that. So let's add some users. And it's easy. I just go here. I'll need to go to my text file. And
yeah, so he did say that there's going to be better optimization for M1 chips. I don't personally have an M1. I wish I did. But, you know, there's going to be really good stuff. I mean, they advertise like 5 times the speed and all of that stuff. So I could only imagine that it's going to be, it's pretty great. So that be true. He says I won't download until I do a review and they iron out the kinks of it. So that would make sense because, you know, you don't want to like do a ton of projects, but yeah.
So now we're all connected. You can see we can use the video conference along the top to chat. Hi, everyone. I know our mics are off, but we can all wave. Do sign language. Welcome to the meeting, you know. Now, we want to watch the videos. We can watch the videos. We can add annotations. We can do all these things. But a lot of the time, we actually want to talk about the same shot. You know, if we're working on something, we're all, you know, want to focus on, keep everyone synced up. So we need to really sync everyone. Now, what we need to do is make sure that we're all looking at the same point in the video. So to do that, we can use the sync playback control. And then when we shuttle and play, everyone's playing in sync. So let me enable that. So I just go down here to the sync control. And if I move along the timeline, you should see everyone move to the same spot. And then if I hit play, we should be able to see everyone play. So you see everyone's playing together. There it is. So it's really cool. So you can see that on the training booth. You know, we're all looking at the same part of the video. So when we add annotations, we're all adding annotations to the same spot. So it's very powerful. Let's actually add an annotation. I'll just stop and I'll turn off the sync so we can all actually add a few annotations. Someone's already added one, so I can add one here. Oops, if I can spell right. So I can add one. Oh, there's a few there. It's cool. So you can see all the annotations up on the right-hand side. Now, these annotations can be exported out to Davinci and they're loaded into the timeline. So this means you can present to a client and their feedback can be logged in the annotations. And then it's visible in Davinci. Now, this will work in Davinci as well as other edit software. So you can see really how powerful Blackmagic Cloud is. The project server lets you collaborate between multiple users. That means you can access a world of creative talent. Then with presentations, you can present to clients anywhere. Or you can use it for large production teams, bringing a production team together. Presentations always stay active. So it's a dedicated meeting room that you can use for as long as you need it. It's really nice to leave it running in the background while you work. And then people can just log in and start chatting. So it's pretty cool. Will be released.
Did they just?
The project server will be a public beta and the presentations will be a private beta. So this means you can try out the cloud workflows with Davinci Resolve 18 public beta. Now, the Blackmagic Cloud website should be online today. If it's not online today, it'll be online in the next few days. You know, it really depends on the server loads. We're going to try and launch it in as many countries as we can, but it might take a few weeks to roll that out worldwide. We might start in the US and then out of other countries as fast as we can. But the server work behind Blackmagic Cloud is actually pretty complex. So we'll work as fast as we can, but please be patient with us while we get it all up and running. You know, we might need a little bit more time than we expected once things really get loaded up. Okay, now let's talk about the cost. So the cost will be $5 per library per month. We'll only charge for the library. So there's no charge for users who share the project, only the host. So a company could pay the $5 and share it for dozens of freelancers, and it would be free for all the freelancers. We think this will help you connect to talent faster because they don't need to do anything. All you have to do is share the project with the Blackmagic Cloud ID. And there's no charge for a Blackmagic Cloud ID, so they don't need to pay anything. Plus, Blackmagic Cloud even works with the free Davinci Resolve, so freelancers don't have to pay for the cloud and they don't have to pay for the software. You can download the software for free and run it on the computer you already own. Plus, you never get trapped as you can export the project file out from Blackmagic Cloud. This means you can export your project from Blackmagic Cloud, then delete the library and the costs will stop. That's great if you don't have any shared jobs running. You don't get charged for stuff you're not using. Also, it's worth noting that with the older Davinci Resolve 17 projects, they could be a little slower if you copy them into Blackmagic Cloud, because in those older project format, we stored a bunch of stuff that we didn't really need. But it's only really an issue for very complex film jobs, and most people doing really complex film jobs have fast internet, so I don't think it'll be an issue. I don't think anyone will see any issues there. But Davinci Resolve 18 projects are fine. Of course, the Davinci Resolve project server app is still included with Davinci Resolve. Now, that software has also been updated, so it's much faster in Davinci Resolve 18. So this means now that it'll handle people working off-site, which is great. It's a simple app that runs on the computer you already own. It means you don't have to pay anything at all if you use that app for your shared projects. But technically, it's a little harder to set up because you need to use a VPN for the remote users. But it's a good solution for technically skilled people who want to keep their workflow private because it's totally private. The network tab in the Davinci project window is where you actually connect to the private server app. You know, you connect via an IP address, so it's not quite as easy as Blackmagic Cloud, but you do get full control. And it's often how a lot of the big film studios work. In many ways, the Davinci Resolve project server app is the best solution for working on an internal network because you've got it all local. As for presentations, there'll also be a charge for that, but we haven't quite worked the specific cost for it. But again, only the host will pay. None of the shared users will pay. And we'll let you know how much presentations cost when it's publicly available. But we'll focus on the collaborative workflows first. So that's about it for this update. We sure have covered a lot of new products. We introduced Blackmagic Cloud and showed the project server. We introduced Davinci Resolve 18 with collaborative workflows. We showed how to connect to a shared project. We introduced the Blackmagic Cloud Store products for sharing media. We showed you the new Proxy generator application. You can see how easy it is to use proxies in Davinci Resolve 18. In this update, we also introduced Hyperdeck Shuttle and showed how it can browse the Cloud Store. We introduced Blackmagic Cloud presentation, so it's a lot of new things. It could all seem a bit complex, but each part's not really difficult to understand. But over the next few months, we'll be really focused on improvements and how people use it, you know, as everyone starts to use it. Plus, we'll be at the NAB show in Las Vegas. So it'll be great to chat about this workflow. You know, if you do start using the Blackmagic Cloud, then we'd love to talk to you. Anyway, I hope you like these new products. I really can't wait to see how they're used. I can't wait to get back to shows and just talk to people in person. It'll be so great. Okay, well, take care and thanks for watching the update. Bye.
All right, so that was pretty good, okay? There's some good stuff in there. There's a lot of new stuff. Obviously, they went very hard on the cloud stuff, but all right. So there is no subscription for the free version. There's no subscription for the studio version, right? The only thing that they're having a subscription for is going to be like the cloud library, which would make sense, right? And it's like super cheap. If you ever need a cloud library, whether it's like just for, you know, using like for sending projects between multiple people and, you know, you're editing at the same time, only one person is going to pay $5 for that thing, like a month. And that's like incredibly cheap for what they're actually doing. Now, what did you think about this, right? What is your favorite features that you have seen so far, right? Because we're going to see a lot more that actually does come out once it launches, because I don't know why they're not launching it yet, but maybe they are currently having network issues. Nonetheless, I'll post a link whenever the video or whenever it actually goes live. So what is your like feature that you're excited about? let me know. I've also got a list because I've been putting together a little list for the coolest features I think that Davinci Resolve 18 has. Okay, this is gonna be really cool. But let me know in the comments like right now, right? I want to see this. I'll throw some up here. So one thing I was a little disappointed, and maybe they actually didn't say this by an accident. I really want to see the Fusion. What was it? I want to see like tracking in Fusion. So you got object mask. You see right here, Nadine says object mask and tracker, of course. Tracking. If it's like, oh yeah, tracking if it's like mocha, that'd be awesome. So the color tracking, yeah, that's actually pretty cool. The new tracking functions, yeah, you guys seem to really like the tracking functions. So, and some of the stuff that all right, I'm sorry, I'm gonna drop this, dude. So some of the stuff that they talked about with like Davinci Resolve, like the edit tab, like being able to like change the transitions and stuff like that, dude, like, I don't know. That's just like such a, I didn't even think about that even being a thing, because I mean, I make my own transitions, I make my own templates, right? Like that's just baked into that stuff, right? Like we just bake in all of those settings because we know you guys are going to want to use them. You're going to want to turn around, like mess with your transitions, of course. So, I mean, I don't know, like it's what it is. The cool thing is though, is like with Davinci Resolve 18, we're going to, with our templates, because a lot of you guys probably, I don't know if you guys have them, right? If you actually have bought a template pack from me, let me know, like throw it down in the comments. We're going to be updating those if need be, right, to Davinci Resolve 18. We're actually currently going through a really big overhaul with all of our templates. So we're actually redoing a ton of them, right? So this is going to be a great time for that. And we'll see how they run. But I mean, this is going to be pretty fantastic. Now, since the event is over, of course, we're going to just wrap this up in a moment, not just yet, okay? But throw me some questions in there. If you got any questions about stuff, let's go over it. Otherwise, it's all freaking good. But yeah, oh dude, I want this mocha tracking. Literally, I want that. So let's see that. Anyway, one of the ways you guys, if you guys want to level up your videos, is by getting some templates from our website, right? brmediapro.com. We have a limited time offer, intro offer, right? We just released a pack a few weeks ago. It's only going to be available at this price until April 27th, right? It's really like one of those things that adds that like sleek modern design to your effects and to your videos. So check that out. It's one of the ways you can support this channel here, right? It's probably the best way you can actually support this channel because YouTube doesn't take a cut, right? Plus you get awesome titles. You can also get awesome transitions. We have it all right? So guys, this is really cool, okay? Oh, is this? Hold on. Wait, studio is 469. Is it freaking really? Hold up. I'm gonna pull this up. We're gonna go over this. We're gonna see this. Let me throw that up there. All right. I literally spelled that wrong. Don't judge me. It's fine. All right, let's see this. Free? No, that's not free. Am I on the wrong website? If so, somebody drop this, right? Drop the link to the new one. Because I am not seeing this. Is it? Am I like not looking in the right place? Go to the homepage. Okay, cool. Oh, frick, there it is. Why would they just not update their Davinci Resolve page? No, Davinci Resolve is still $295. I don't know why. I'll go to the support bit. Okay, so I'm gonna download that. Yeah, so Davinci Resolve Studio Beta, We're going to make this happen. Download only. Yo, when I made a video about downloading Davinci Resolve, I definitely screwed some people up, right? I clicked the studio version when I needed to have clicked the beta version. So anyway, all right, we're gonna download this. I don't see that like 260 or 469 or whatever. I don't see that price. Where did you see like I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't know where you saw that. But guys, there's some really big stuff coming. I'm excited. All right. So I'm going to download this. And I think I want to. I'm going to make a video. Okay. I'm going to actually make a video. I'm going to end this, make a video. All right. If you guys want, once again, to support me, check out brmediapro.com, where some awesome templates are. Okay. We really put a lot of time and effort into this because we want to speed up your video editing process. Okay. That's the whole point of what we're trying to do here. And we really appreciate you guys. Like, thank you so much for your support. Thank you for this opportunity that you've given me. And it's honestly like mind blowing. So I've got some videos coming to you guys like really soon because there's just a lot of cool things to talk about. Okay. So I've even got thumbnails made, guys. Like, talk about efficiency. All right. All right. So I'm going to end this. And if you guys want to ask more questions, please do so in the comments. Also, for those who are watching the replay, check out these other videos on the screen. All right. Till the next one. Peace.